We're going live. I hope everybody tuned in to Fox Soul tonight. OG Stories, Dame Afterthought. Five was on Dame Afterthought. Carlton, Whip, Pause, 147 minutes. OG Stories. But, you know, now, we rolling?
We're rolling.
Yeah. So now we have a guest, special guest from the athletic field, the fighting for our culture field. Very disruptive guy, so you know, him and I are real cool. My man, Roy Schwett, what's happening?
What's up, OG?
What's going on? So, you know, for those that don't know who you are, you want to...
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people probably wouldn't know who I am. I was drafted back in 2013 to the Houston Rockets, coming out of Iowa State University. Originally, I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I had a huge controversy, you could say, with the NBA regarding mental health, the topic of mental health. And, you know, what the establishment was able to do in the public was make it seem as though I was a prima donna or I was a diva. But really behind the scenes, the reality was back then mental health was a topic that wasn't really discussed. It certainly wasn't pop like it is today. Everybody's talking about mental health and safe spaces and all these things. Back then, in 2013, which really wasn't that long ago, I brought that up to the league, to my team, and they looked at me like I had three eyes, right? And it wasn't so much that they were really denying that mental health was an important issue. It was more that I really challenged them about policy. I said, what are the policies? What do y'all have on the books in terms of how you really look at this issue? And they didn't want to address that. So, you know, for the last 7 years, I've been kind of just in exile. You know what I mean? And you know, fighting back against the establishment, the corporatocracy, as I like to call it, this huge global network of corporate interests.
You know, everything you say sounds pretty, it seems like it's part of that program, you know, to keep us in an unsafe place so that we can be controlled. And you know, when I look at these professional sports, I look at the team owners, I don't see too much color. But when I see people playing, that's all I see is color. And it looks like that in every industry in America. It's like we're in front of the camera, but we're never in the office or behind the camera. And it almost seems like we always need to feel like we need them. And all we gotta really do is stick together. So I never expect anyone that's oppressing us or that controls us to give us anything that's gonna help us become independent.
Right.
So, you know, standing up for yourself in our culture, you know, of course, that's gonna be scary to them. And
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, you know, a great saying is, if you want to know who controls you, look at the people you can't criticize.
absolutely.
And, you know, on a small scale, as an NBA athlete or an incoming NBA athlete, I couldn't even criticize the league or the policies of that league. But more broadly, it's like our people who dominate and really drive the culture in this country and around the world, we can't criticize certain groups of people at all without being, you know, called very pejorative names.
But my thing on that is, it's their house. You can't disrespect them in their house.
Right.
It is what it is. But that's our fault for letting them have a house that we have to go into. We have to build our own house, and then we make our own rules. Can you imagine if every black athlete in the NBA said, I'm not playing? Would there be an NBA?
Absolutely not.
So why wouldn't every black athlete come together and say that? Why? Because everyone's afraid they're not going to get that bread.
Yeah, but and not only that, I think just by and large, a lot of black people are, especially black athletes, you know, we were groomed a certain way, conditioned a certain way coming up.
I hate that.
We're very comfortable with white people being in charge.
I'm not.
Me either. I never was. In order to be in charge, for me, you got to be competent.
I mean, you know, a soldier can't tell a general what to do.
Right. Absolutely.
And we're the jewel of the universe, and we've been convinced that we are not. And that's the only way you can control power. is by making them think they are not powerful. So I feel like, you represent the fact that you know your power and you won't compromise and let a soldier tell you what to do for your culture. And that takes a lot of integrity. And, of course they're gonna act like, and I say they meaning those that are not like-minded, that are benefiting from our dysfunction, they're gonna always try to make you look like a bad guy. But, you're playing basketball, the big three, you're just out there, you're out here to play with
the crew league.
The crew, I definitely saw Chris Brown shake somebody up.
Yeah, he dropped the NLE chopper with the behind the back, sat him down. That was crazy.
Yeah, it's all over the ground.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But, either way, you're active. We talk a lot about culture. You're doing other things. You're fighting now.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, man, I just had to, I'm a lifelong athlete, so I love competition first and foremost. I think a lot of these guys grow up with dreams of fame and fortune just because of the economic condition we come from. But I really love competition, in a pure sense. So.
Well, you went against the whole NBA?
Say it again?
You went up against the whole NBA?
Yeah, well, that was by default. Well, see, me with the look, this is the thing about the NBA too.
You triggered and you were right.
100%. Well, now they agree.
Well, that's how it always goes.
That's how it always goes. Yeah, you kick the door down, they shoot you for it, then they act like it was their idea.
We have a show called Healing the Gangster. We've been at that. See, the thing about therapy is that black people don't usually get it. And because of that, the study of people is the study of a different culture. And then when black people finally get it, they're getting it in the wrong language. They're getting therapy about a different, set of circumstances for survival. We have unrecognized trauma,
of course,
just being born into this world the way it is.
Right.
And we think the normal is letting us believe we're number two and they're number one, and we have to have people that we feel are weaker than us paying us, telling us when we can speak. For me, it's like physically internalizing something. Like physically, it's like, if you have to take it and you have a diarrhea cramp, you're gonna be in pain the whole time.
Right.
So you have to internalize without letting out.
Right.
But mentally, imagine having to internalize everything you feel, and never being able to actually project to the people that deserve it. What starts to happen is you start to project at the only people that will listen, which is the people that love you, which is your brothers,
100%.
your sisters. And then that's where you hurt. And that's a good program for the oppressor. But we have to realize that unless we communicate and speak our mind regardless to what it is, if we really feel a certain way, if we have to internalize that, it becomes depression and it becomes hurting the people you love.
100%. Yeah.
And we have to have the confidence to know that there are options. So for me, the way to get at something I don't like is to create something that I do. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to make a safe place for our culture and every culture that's like-minded to be able to play a sport, to able to be seen, and to be able to make money. I'm going to try my hardest. Not even try. It's going to happen. I have a commitment to it. I hate to see our culture just be looked at as entertainment. The thing I didn't like, and I don't like about schools that provide a basketball program, is they don't provide an educational program about how to do administrative things after your season or your career is over if you don't make it.
Right.
It's like if you make it in basketball or whatever sport, you don't prepare yourself to fit in to the way we don't want to fit in, which made you play basketball or a sport in the first place. And most people sometimes, based on statistics, if they don't make it because they didn't go to school, they end up going to crime. Right. Then they end up going to jail. Then they end up slaves again, in shackles in a cage, working for a slave wage, which was the plan in the first place.
See, it's deep though, because when I came into the league, way before we even had a conversation about mental health or mental health policy, I was one of the few players I would assume that came to the league and said, let me sign myself to my own company and you do the contract and sign the contract.
They were already mad at you for that.
No, out the gate.
Because you had your own brain.
Right, see, and then...
They were like, he's not going to be able to be told what to do, so we now have to make him look like he's out of control as opposed to us, because we cannot control you. When they can't control us, then that's when they label us out of control, because they can't control us.
Absolutely. And you said something in the interview that really resonated with me as part of the reason I originally reached out. I mean, I've been watching you all my life, and I'm a fan, and you inspire me to fight back and stand up for the proper beliefs. But there was one thing that you pointed out in an interview about these middlemen. And so what I kind of took offense to personally was that...
Cut out the middleman.
But it's not even, yes, that for sure. But it's the insult to the intelligence. It's almost as if the middlemen act like they're bringing some grand level of expertise that we as athletes know that they're not. Right, like the NBA.
They don't put up $1. They just say, you don't know this person, so let me introduce you.
And even the marketing, even the marketing, it's like you don't have to work very hard to sell what they're selling. And it's the same thing as like, you know, and even with the music, a lot of these artists are the art and the minds and the behind the design and all of the vibe.
And let's talk about that real quick. The reason why they do not teach us that in school while we're playing basketball is because then we will know how to eliminate the middleman. If you know how to do it yourself, then you don't go to a middleman. Or you pay a middleman, he throws a vig on it.
Right.
They don't make us aware.
If you're from the streets, you know that.
Completely.
Yeah.
That's the reason why when we do start our league, the league, it will come with actually having literacy on everything. Health literacy, economic literacy, NFT, you know, metaverse, multiverse, every kind of literacy that there is. Coaching literacy, owning a team literacy, scouting literacy, you know, and also being able to protect your lineage, whatever I was saying. You know what I'm saying? Literacy.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you got to look at
building a state.
When the laws are made in America, because America's a fairly new country, people sat around and talked about how to control the world, at least the American world, not for 10 years, for 100. The people that made these laws just had slaves, or probably still did. So again, to me, they were like, yo, how do we figure out a way to legally enslave a certain culture and women? And you know how you do it? You keep them thinking in number two, keep them in always desperate, keep them fighting each other, keep them educated a certain way, make them sit behind a desk 8 hours a day when the sun's out, separate them from their kids.
That's right.
You know, and only make them think that they can break a social class by being entertaining.
That's right.
You know, they don't teach you how to be an entrepreneur. They don't even teach you how to have money because they don't expect you to have it. You know, having money for the first time is not easy. Nothing for the first time is easy. Absolutely. Being a pro for the first time is not easy. So of course, what should logically happen based on history is we see how many people get in the head, period, over actually just being a celebrity. So it makes sense as soon as you sign someone at a professional level, which I do. Anyone that gets with my crew, first thing they do is talk to our resident therapist, Taj. Just so I know what problems I need to work on. Because you can't be happy you can't be successful if you truly are not happy. And if you're not happy, no one around you will be happy. And I don't need that in my world. So of course, they would say, before you become a pro, here's a therapist. Here's a person to teach you how to make sure your money's all right. Here's a person to teach you what you need to do after this is over, whether you get injured or you just decide to stop. But why would they not prepare you for that, knowing that this is going to happen? I mean, it just feels like it's strategic. But I expect them to give it to us. We got to give it to us.
There is some of that, though. I'd be dishonest if I was sit up here and say that they don't provide those things. The question is there an emphasis? And the next question is whether or not the real spirit of the offering is intended for people that are to utilize it, to capitalize off of it, right? So, like, we had a rookie transition program where they bring people in for the rookies, and they tell us, you're transitioning, these are the, pitfalls to watch out for. There's a lot of things in our own community that we have to deal with.
Right.
That have nothing to do.
Wait, so they do that?
They do that.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, they do that.
So what is that? People don't listen?
No, but the point is, like, for example, in our rookie transition charter, it says very fluffy things about what they expect players to do, like carry yourself in a way that would make your family, community proud, carry yourself in a way that would, reflect good on the league.
But like, do they show you how to like set up a trust? They show you how to pay taxes?
Not step by step. Well, here.
That's the thing that they know that we don't. How to make sure your taxes is right. Trust me, I've been through it. I'm like, God damn, I didn't know all this, and I was paying somebody $1 million a year to tell me, and they just didn't.
They will, and this is the bigger issue, I think, for the black community. I led the protests in Minneapolis after George Floyd was murdered.
Right.
And so a lot of these conversations continue to pop up in the aftermath of, where our community is, and for me being on the inside and behind those closed doors where billionaires talk. Right. What are the things that I saw that we faced? And this is this is one of the main issues we have to talk about is, yes, they offer those things, but it comes with the quid pro quo that you won't challenge the establishment.
Right.
Right. And the access to certain levels of doing those things, although certain people know that you can do it on your own.
They teach you what to do, but they also teach you how to act.
They teach you what to do. It comes with the unspoken agreement that you can never challenge us. And that's why many of the people who we would say, why wouldn't they just start their own league? Like, for instance, when the Donald Sterling thing popped off, I was already going through problems with the league about the mental health piece, but I was in direct contact with our union. So as soon as the Donald Sterling thing popped off, and that question was already being popped up because it was the ownership is predominantly white and Jewish, let's just be honest. And Donald Sterling said very specific things about Jewish elitism, which was a headline that should have made global news, but they suppressed it because there's a Jewish elite that runs much of the media and the headlines as well. That's just facts. That's what Jewish elite people say. I'm not saying that. But Donald Sterling specifically said, in Israel, the black Jews are treated like dogs. That should have been the headline. Instead, they made the headline, I don't want you to bring Magic Johnson to my games. They made it seem like it was a male-on-male thing and a jealousy thing. But really, he was talking about Jewish elitism. But the point is I went to the union and I said, why are we not having a league-wide conversation now, number one, about an independent investigation into how deep these Jewish racism views go, because there are a bunch of Jewish owners. And the premise of his conversation with his side piece was, I'm getting a lot of calls because you popped up to the game with Magic, and these are my people, and my people are, now they're questioning me. And she in response to him is like, well, I know those are your people, and that's how you were raised, but, what's the difference between black people and Jewish people? Even in, as she brought up the slavery thing, she's like, don't you think the Holocaust and slavery? And he scoffed at it. He was like, are you crazy? Like, there's no comparison type of thing. And then she was like, well, do you in general think that black people are less than white people, or even the black Jews in Israel are less than white? And he was like, yeah, 50% less.
He said that?
See, people didn't even read the transcripts. See, I'm thorough like that. And that's why they don't want me around. It's not just because I'll speak for myself, it's because I'm thorough. They have a transcript of the entire conversation between him and her that was recorded. That's what he said. He said, in Israel, the black Jews are treated like dogs. And she said, so the black Jews are worth less than the white Jews? And he said, yeah, 50% less. And I only say that because what I'm trying to get at is, I called the union and I say, why aren't we talking about leaving? And they're like, well, in order to do that, these key players would have to get behind them. LeBron, Chris Paul was the president at the time. Chris Paul played for Donald Sterling at the time. And he was going out in the media and saying, we have an obligation to the fans to finish the season. The fans? But, it's the mindset, the brainwashing in that is so evident, and what becomes clear is that we as a black community have to shake this empathy that we have towards one another that's based in tribalism, even though we should stick together. Because the easy weaponization is for an elite who doesn't mean our people good to send someone in or to pay someone off and then have them shielded and protected by saying, you shouldn't be able to criticize another black man or else you're holding us all down. And that's what I've seen them try to play you with. So anytime this guy's selling out, that guy's selling out, then they go, oh, you heard the movement, you just going at another black man. No, you're selling out. We gotta talk about that.
I used to get at them though.
Right.
I call out, I don't like to call out us in public, but I do call out them in public.
See, but there's a problem with that though, because to me, the person of my own tribe that sells me out to them is worse than them.
They in the program.
True.
That's the thing. It's like the people that are in the program.
But you were in the program, so I hold people to the standard. Like if
I never was in the program.
Right. That's facts.
I went in as always an owner.
Right.
And I always punished those that disrespected my creators.
Right.
And exploited my culture and tried to divide us. And I never ever tried to stay. It was like the only way they got at me is through the closest person to me.
Mm.
But that was the only way they could get to me, to where I didn't control them. You know what I mean? But I'm always control what I got going on. I just was like, I'm gonna go in your house. I never really wanted to be there. But if I'm gonna be there, I was gonna kick some ass.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.